Hello everyone, my name is Wayne.
And I'm Rebecca.
And we are your Bourbon Journey.
Welcome to episode 6 of Bourbon Trail Tales and Tastes. This one takes us off of the Kentucky Bourbon Trail and into our home state of Indiana. This is our first distillery to visit Indiana. It's Hard Truth up in Brown County, Indiana, which is just a gorgeous area, very near Bloomington. And we visited on May 22nd of 2022. It was a beautiful day. We had just come back from Fort Wayne, where we had been up seeing the Fort Wayne Tin Caps play a game where they had honored the All-American girls, which we are friends with quite a few of them. And so we went to see that event, and we scheduled this on the way home. So
it was a beautiful drive because we ended up, if you've been to the area, you understand it, but if you haven't, there's just tree after tree after tree, and at the time we went, they were all in bloom, leaves out, just outstanding. When we pull up to the property and you have the rick houses there, it's just gorgeous. There's also like one little cabin off to the side, and we went inside to prepare for our tour. I ended up having a Bloody Mary. First time I had a Bloody Mary at a distillery, and it was very good. And so
we got a snack too, because we've been driving from Fort Wayne, and we were a little bit hungry and wanted to eat before we did any tasting.
Yep.
And it was good. I mean, they have a fabulous restaurant there. Highly recommend you get reservations for the restaurant. But if you don't have one, do what we did, which is sit at the bar. And we were able to have a cocktail as well as have some good food to eat, which was great. And also in the spring and summer when the weather's good, they typically have a really great outdoor space where you can eat outdoors. We've seen that quite a bit. We've been there several times now, and they usually have, different bands and musicians playing, which is quite nice. So, yeah. But then we finally got to do our tour.
Yep.
And we did the basic distillery tour. And again, this was, probably one of our earliest tours we were doing. So what stands out to you on this tour that you really remember? The
one thing about it, because we were walking around and it's kind of like the outdoors was beautiful.
Oh, there's so many trees. I mean, it's like the woods.
But we came to this sort of what looked like a shack.
Very small.
And very small. And so the guide opened up the door, had us go in, and it's where they smoke barrels. So if you can imagine a smokehouse where you're barbecuing, that's sort of what this smelled like, except they were doing it with the barrels in there.
Barrels with juice in them.
Yes, and it was like, okay, and even though I just eaten, I was now hungry again thanks to this. But it was a fantastic memory, and it was very interesting to see that.
Yeah, that was great. I mean, I can still remember the aromas of that, and it really did make you think about it. And then the other thing that really stood out for me, I think it was the first time we went in a rick house where the barrels were palletized, right? They weren't on their sides, rolling, and they call them more of a rack house because they are palletized. And and they really were. I'm so accustomed, even at that point, that barrels were dark looking. These were very light looking. Of course, they're still oak, but they were a light color. And they just look beautiful. You just look up like this, and you're seeing all these barrels on these stacks like that. It was really amazing. And they were doing a lot of different things then. Back in 2022, they had some bourbon, but they were mostly a rye house. They were doing a ton of vodka. They still do some vodka. They're very well known for their peanut butter whiskey. Yes. A lot of people they think it's better than what's the other one called? Screwball. A lot of people like theirs better because it's not quite as sweet. We were still drinking some sweet stuff then, so we may have a bottle of that, just saying. But
we do.
Yeah, but they had a lot of different things, which I found interesting. And again, the grounds were great. They're also, if you don't know much about Hard Truth, their ownership also owns Quaffon. So if you're a beer lover, they own the Quaffon products, and Quaffon does some of the most amazing, in my opinion, porters and stouts.
Yes, they had some really, really good porters and stouts there. And
Yeah, I mean, so we definitely stayed after the tour to check out the other area where they do things from their tap that are from Quaffon, and it was just hard to pick. We each did a really small flight just to taste some of the things they were doing. But it's another aspect of going to Hard Truth, because if you're with friends that maybe aren't into the bourbon scene yet, but they love beer, they might have a really good time too, because they have great food, it's gorgeous, and their bourbons and everything else. Now they're making full line of bourbons and bottled in bonds and 4 grains, and we've come to that. They are probably some of our favorite ryes. They have several ryes. Their chocolate malt one is amazing. Several that we've really enjoyed. When I checked our records from the trip, we purchased 3 ryes that day, and we weren't even really rye drinkers back then. And the Sipes rye is one of the ones that we purchased, and we opened it today. So that's one of those things I think we've talked about before. Sometimes we buy things because we were enamored with something on that day, and then we never opened it again because we had to buy it because it was our first trip. I'm glad we did. And it took us a little while to find this bottle today, but it is also smoked in their smokehouse. And I think that's one of the reasons we purchased it.
It is. That was actually the hook, because having gone through that smokehouse, like I said, you talk about going ahead and marketing your product, because if you like barbecue and stuff and you walk through there, you're dying at this point. And you walk in, and that was the first thing that we talked about was something like that. That was really cool.
Something that was done in that smokehouse.
Yeah, and having been on the tour, I can only recall maybe one other place that had possibly done it, but I think their smokehouse burned down. Is MB Roland?
No, they still have the smokehouse.
They do still have the smokehouse. Okay, so so they still have it going.
Yeah. So and they do their what they call their wood-fired series there.
Okay.
With that,
Okay.
But we have never tasted this because it was open today. It's been sitting for probably 30 minutes now. We wanted to let it breathe a bit before we did, and I'm kind of excited about it. I hope, fingers crossed, that we like it.
Well,
we don't know. We've never tried it.
We'll find out. And I don't even remember if we actually did a tasting of this there. I think we went into
it. It may have been on the tasting flight. I just don't remember.
Yeah.
But let's talk a little bit about what this actual bottle is so that you'll have an idea if you've never heard of Sipes. So this is a barrel smoked straight rye whiskey. It's a 4-year-old rye finished in custom hardwood smoked barrels, blended and bottled at Hard Truth, and distilled all in Brown County, Indiana. It is 90 proof, and we paid $57.99 for this. So not a bad buy, which is probably why we went ahead and bought a couple different things that day. And I'm excited to try it.
Well, outside of the fact that we were really intrigued about this being done in the smokehouse, why do you think we didn't buy any of the bourbon that day?
They didn't have any bourbon that day.
They didn't have any bourbon. Okay.
They didn't have any bourbon that was aged enough to be theirs yet.
Okay.
They've only just recently hit that flavor, that time profile. Very good.
Well, let's stop flapping our gums and go ahead and put this on our gums, or at least start off by looking at it and smelling it.
It's a nice medium amber color. Oh my goodness, it's got great legs. Already it's forming legs on that glass. I'm not sure I was expecting that at this 90 proof mark. That gives me some hope I might like this. It's pretty.
Yeah, it does.
Shall we go ahead and smell it? I'm hoping I get some of that smokehouse on here. It definitely smells like a rye.
It's very bright.
Got some citrus notes.
Something else in there.
I'm getting
outside of the ryegrass.
Ryegrass, citrus.
It's driving me nuts. I almost want to say there's barley in here. There's something else that outside of the ryegrass.
Yeah, I was unable to find their mash bill on this, so I'm not sure if it probably has some barley in it.
I swear it's barley.
I think it's got a really fragrant nose. It smells light and bright. I was expecting it to smell kind of smoky, and it does not for me. But we'll see how it does on the palate. Shall we taste it?
Okay. Well, cheers.
Hard Truth Sipes Rye. Let's give it a go. Okay, now I'm getting the smoke.
Yeah.
And it's pleasant. It's like it's smokehouse. Okay, here's the thing. If we had tried this 3 years ago, we probably wouldn't be able to share it with you today. because it's pretty tasty.
Possibly. The smoke overpowers everything at the beginning.
Yeah.
Then it settles down into the citrus,
The rye spice.
and the rye spice.
Mhm.
Not so much ryegrass, but rye spice to me. If there is a difference, to me there is.
Yeah, let's try again. Because the first one, I really was overwhelmed by the smoke too. I mean, it is just. I mean, I love to smoke meats and stuff, and my smoker's been on the blitz, so we didn't smoke this summer. But it was like if I would take a glass of bourbon and sit it in the smoker and then pull it back out to drink it. And we didn't try that before. We'll try that next time we get the smoker running. But it is still pulling. I'm loving the balance because on the nose it was bright and very vibrant, and it kind of pulls it back a little bit to add this complexity of the smoke.
I'm just sitting there thinking. That's why I've got I'm like this. I wonder how this would be with a cigar.
We were talking about having one in a bit because we're having a very nice day today, and it wouldn't be bad to go outside. It's almost 60 degrees. We're pretty excited about that.
I think this would hold up well with a cigar. I wouldn't smoke.
I mean, the nose is still really fragrant.
I don't think I would smoke like a strong cigar. I mean, I'm not a Michael Beach type. That he is the quintessential cigar.
He knows
guy.
how to pair them perfectly.
He knows how to, yes, pair them perfectly. But I wouldn't like. He likes My Father the Judge, which we like. That's a strong cigar. This is a much more mild cigar that you would want to smoke this with.
Well, let's take another sip and talk about the finish a bit.
Okay.
It is very well balanced. I'm just going to say that. I do think the 90 proof is showing, I mean, it tastes more flavorful than a 90 proof for me, but the finish is very short. And I think that's probably cause and effect of the 90 proof. I'm not getting a lot of action on the finish.
I'm thinking that, I mean, this is 3 years ago, so it's not something we would put into a matchup now. I'm thinking there's a lot of ryes we have that I don't like as much as this.
Oh, I think it's very good. Yeah, it just doesn't have a great.
Really surprised.
I mean, the nose, I'd give an A+ on the nose. The palate, because it really surprises you with that smokiness, but it doesn't make you feel like, we've had a couple things that were smoky. It makes you feel like you're licking an ashtray, and that's not what this is at all. I mean, it's like you pull a piece of meat off the smoker and you're getting a piece of that, what we call meat candy, and you're eating it outside while it's still in the smoker. That's the kind of smokiness this is in a most positive way. If I have to give it one ding, it's that it has a short finish.
Yes.
That's the only ding I can give this. But for the rest of the experience, for the viscosity, the mouthfeel is great. The nose is great, the palate's great. So if it's got a short finish, I'm going to give a little forgiveness there because I'd still drink this for $57.99.
For myself, I think if I were going to ditch one thing on a bourbon, it would be the long finish. If I can have something that has a great nose, if I can have something that has this really good taste in the mouth, great mouthfeel, I don't mind, having like a minute where I'm sitting there and not so much burning, but just keeps going. Everything else about this is really
excellent,
pleasant.
We've not yet tried something from our Bourbon Trail experiences that we disliked, and this one, I'm going to say I would buy it again.
I would. How much was it again?
$58.
Yeah, I would buy it again.
I mean, I don't know what it is today. That was 3 years ago.
I would buy it again.
I'd go up to 75 for it probably.
I'd go up to $1 million. No, I'm not kidding. I would. I would go. I would go as high as maybe 100. And I say that after tasting it because it has its own lane.
It's totally in its own lane. That smokiness.
Yes. And there's probably only one other rye that I could think of, and I won't mention it right now, that I would pay north of 100 to get. And this is what I would pay because we've got ryes up here. There's nothing that we could put it with or compare it with.
No, there's nothing in this lane.
Yeah, and I think even if we put it on a tasting with other ryes, we would know it.
We would know it was this because of the smokiness.
The smokiness, unless it opens up and the smokiness leaves, we're going to know it.
Yeah.
It's really good. If you find this, if you have an opportunity to buy this, I would take a chance on this bottle. I don't think you'd regret it.
Yep.
It's a good rye.
So this was really fun. I mean, you know, we never know when we start going down this Bourbon Trail experience thing, if what we're going to remember from the trip, what stands out as a really strong memory, and if we made a good decision that day on things we purchased. And this was a win-win-win as far as I'm concerned.
Yes.
And we have gone back to Hard Truth a couple other times and had some really good experiences there. So it's definitely on our list to revisit in the summertime or springtime when it's really nice. You can sit outside and enjoy the leaves. I would say to avoid it in October.
Yes.
Because Brown County, Indiana is all about fall leaves. People come from hundreds of miles away to visit Brown County, Indiana in the fall. So that might be a time not to go because hotels are very hard to come by. But any other time of the year, absolutely. Anyway, I was really excited about that. I thought this was pretty fun.
It was.
And I'm really glad we finally opened this bottle.
And I am too. I'm going to be curious as we go along with this. It might be fun to go back and pull a few that are special and try to rate maybe which one was the best one that we got going back over the trip.
Well, we still have 55 more videos to do to catch us up.
We have a whole lot.
So just saying.
That
could be a couple years down the road before we get around to doing that.
It could be, but this is one that might rank up there fairly high because it's, for the price point, it's a surprise. So cheers to everybody. Hard Truth, always doing a great job up there. We've met their main guy up there that makes the juice.
Brian Smith's great guy.
He really is. Get an opportunity, head on up there. And cheers, drink responsibly, and go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Have a great day. Cheers.